Life finds a way. Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. I'm your host, the Mayor Jeff Hornacek. Thank you so much for checking us out. This is episode 193 and an exciting one. It is sure to be. Before we get started with the movie discussion, let's go around and meet the fellow bros, and we start with the American hero, Nate Thurmond. Nate, it's spooky season since it's October. So aside from having to attend a WNBA game and sit courtside, what scares you the most?
Yeah, that one is definitely second scariest. But what scares me the most? Snakes. Snakes is probably my biggest fear, and my wife makes fun of me a lot because I don't even like seeing like pictures of them. I don't like seeing them on TV in video form or anything. I'll never see snakes on a plane.
I was just about to say you declined to be on the snakes on a plane.
Yeah. Will not do it. I don't know what it is, but they freak me the fuck out. I can't do it. And sometimes my wife will call me out if I'm scrolling through Instagram on the couch or something, and she's like, "Oh, did you see a snake?" I'm like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" She's like, I saw a snake voice."
Did you see a snake scared. Or check your Robinhood account?
Either way, I will be crying. But yeah, snakes.
My mom's the same way. Anytime you say snakes, I go, snakes? I don't know no snakes.
Yeah.
Asps. Why have to be asps?
That voice is the mad scientist, Brian Banner. Banner, this year when the kids come trick-or-treating at the lab where you podcast, what kind of surprises can they expect?
It won't be cocaine.
Well, it's weird for you to bring that up unprovoked, though. You know?
No, I said it won't be.
Yeah, but...
We give out, like, apples and oranges and stuff. You know, we're that house.
Oh, gross. You give out oranges?
No. Are you kidding me? We get the variety pack, and we give out the things that I don't like.
Like juji fruit?
Yeah, don't like juji fruit. Don't like sixlets.
Dots?
I actually like
sixlets. Dots are gross.
Oh, you do like dots? I like dots, too.
I do like dots.
Yeah.
You know what? When I was a kid, I used to think it was cool. As an adult, though, I think it's just try hard. It's any house that gives out like full-size candy bars.
Oh, you always had like the rich neighborhoods you would go to.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know where to go.
Like you just really want to be fucking liked if you do that.
Yeah, and it's working.
Yeah, it's desperate, but it is effective. It can be both.
That shit's got to be expensive.
Yeah, like you're like the cool house, but at what cost? You know?
I mean, because what would you say? You have probably 100 kids come by?
And what's a candy bar these days? Like basically $1?
Yeah.
That's fucking ridiculous.
And there's no leftovers at that point. So now it's just now you're in the red.
Or if there are, like, what are you going to do with 18 full-size candy bars, you fat ass?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to stick in like that $30, $35 range for candy. I think that's a good amount.
When you run out, you run out.
Don't go cheap and go like off-brand candy. Like get like, Mars Company or Nestle or something.
Yeah, you get the real stuff for sure.
I think the thought process has to be you're stuck with what's left over, so don't punish yourself and get, like bazooka gum or something stupid.
See, adults sort the candy before trick-or-treating and kids sort it afterwards. I've learned that. I have learned that in my old age as I mature.
What great insight.
I think that's actually from the Bible.
Yeah, the Logicians 8:5.
One of those two. All right, now once we get into biblical talk, I think it's time to move on to the first part of our show, which is the most important thing in any bro's life, and that is Chess Day, our Chess Day topic this episode. Since we're basically we are in the last quarter of 2022, but as far as movie season goes, I think we've all seen enough films in the year where it's like, all right, we have a pretty decent picture of how it's going to shake out. And we thought we're typically very positive on this show, but we thought, why not, before we get to like our end of year stuff, do a bit of a negative episode and talk about
and this is for those people that don't listen to our She-Hulk reviews, because those are pretty negative as well.
Yeah.
But aside from that, we're like super positive.
That's true.
For the most part.
You can tell though, even on those, like we're not the people that enjoy shitting on things.
I don't know about you guys, but She-Hulk will not be on my list tonight, so it's not that bad.
No. Yeah, since it wasn't finished, I didn't think I could put it on there. It's going to be a buzzer beater though with that one. So this is essentially the worst stuff we've watched in 2022. I had a list of 5. I narrowed it down to 3 for myself, and I do have them ranked. So mine are all movies, but again, whatever you want to put in here, TV, movies, go for it. And then if we have time, I guess we could even do honorable mentions. I'm not sure if any of you guys have something that like didn't quite make your list or that you just want to talk about. But
cool.
All right. All right, Brian, why don't you go first? Are yours ranked at all, or it's just?
I couldn't rank these. These are all just in the bucket. I'll try and kind of rank them as I go, and I feel like, are we doing worst first or third worst?
I was gonna do third worst, but if you need to like recalibrate,
no, I'll do third worst first.
What's the third worst thing you've seen since the calendar hit 2022?
Thor: Love and Thunder.
Wow.
I
was flirting with it, but it's just not quite bad enough for me.
No, it's not that bad for me.
I think my biggest thing is like it was still I didn't have a fun in it, not like Ragnarok fun, but I just hate how they have turned Thor into a complete fucking joke.
Yeah.
And like, regardless of how you feel about Dark World, Thor is a great character right up until halfway through Endgame or even Endgame.
Until we get Bro Thor.
And then you get Fat Bro Thor, which sounds cool on paper, but it just isn't.
Yeah, it kind of detracts from what he really needs to be.
The goats got to me. Didn't like the goats.
Goats were bad. I hated the way they utilized the Guardians of the Galaxy in the movie.
They like set up this big thing, like they're gonna go on these adventures together, and then they literally just like drop him off on a fucking planet. Really disappointed in the villain. I thought Christian Bale did fantastic. Oh. I loved his performance. They just didn't do enough with it. Like, and it was a completely different movie. You had
don't say you're disappointed in the villain.
No. I'm not disappointed in the villain, I guess. I'm disappointed in how they presented it. And it was two different movies. When it was just Bale as the villain, great. Absolute fucking movie I'm in. Great fucking movie I'm in. And then when he's not there, I'm like, I probably am. I don't know.
Well, I think it's weird. Like, I get that Taika Waititi is like the comedic guy. He can bring levity to the Shakespearean Thor, but like just being flat out, like the Mighty Thor storyline and Gore the God Butcher just don't work in a slapstick comedy film. Like, it's too heavy of subject matter. And to his credit, he took that part of the film seriously. But like you said, that juxtaposed with like everything with Thor and the fucking goats, it just is like it's like you get whiplash almost how quickly the movie changes. It's the genre that it is.
Yeah, and I probably just getting hung up on like the specificity of what you said, but I understand what you're saying, like how they like fit it in there, like because I love Bale's portrayal. And his character and everything. But yeah, it just did not fit with this movie at all.
It was two fucking different movies, and I didn't know which one I was watching.
I wonder if there were times on set where Bale was like, "Are you sure you don't want me to play this like a little bit lighter?" Because I feel like everyone else around me are the Three Stooges, and then I'm fucking like Tony Montana.
Bale's like I'm giving you good shit here.
I was gonna say, you really think Bale is gonna like say that on camera? He's gonna be over there like, "Look, I know I'm the best fucking person out here."
Wow, that's a great Christian.
Was it really was it that good, or was it that bad?
I've been friends with Brian for 20 years, and my favorite thing about you is like without even practicing an impression, you're like, fuck it, we'll do it live. Like you'll just take the ball and run with it.
I've never practiced impressions in front of a mirror in my life.
That's good. I'm afraid to do them because I know I'm shitty at them.
Brian's like everything with him is like a dress rehearsal. He's like, let's work out the kinks. I don't give a shit.
We'll figure it out. Am I gonna be Yoda?
Or... I sound like an idiot.
Yeah. Now, Brian, with Thor: Love and Thunder, I'm kind of I was thinking of putting it on my list mainly because of like expectations versus the product, but then I started thinking like there's just 3 movies I've seen that were way worse than this. But I think in terms of like what, and again, I get too excited for Marvel movies, I'll admit. But for me, I think that's the reason I considered it. Was just because of what I was hoping to get and then what we got.
Yeah. I think I was in the back of my mind guarded. I don't know. I didn't have that high of expectations for it. I don't know why I didn't, but it still fell short of what I.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Nate, what is your number 3? Worst thing you've watched?
Hi. I am going to slide this in. I didn't have these ranked, but I'm just ranking them live on the pod. I'm gonna slide this in at the third spot, and I think it is because it isn't finished, so it could be out there. But yeah, we're gonna throw She-Hulk in there.
That's fair. We've seen enough of it.
I've seen enough of it, and I haven't watched the most recent episode, which just dropped yesterday. But the episode before that was just
Yeah. So as this is dropped, episode 8 came out today.
yeah.
I am halfway through it, and honestly, that might be the reason it's not on this list.
Wow.
Good.
I'm 13 minutes into a 26-minute episode, but I am liking what I'm getting right now.
Nice. I need that.
I know a little bit of a spoiler. I should have stayed off social media, but oh well. But yeah, and this may be it, huh?
I said you can't stay
I
off
know.
social media.
Yeah, I know. I try and scroll fast if I see anything, but it caught me. But yeah, this one is just all over the place. I don't know what it's trying to be. It doesn't fit in with what I think and we think the Marvel Universe should be. It's like a regular old sitcom, Ally McBeal kind of deal here, and that's fine. I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad show. It's just not fitting into what I wanted and what I expected, and I don't know what it is.
It's a comedy that's just not funny.
Yeah, they're trying to do a lot, and one thing that really hangs with me is like she talks to the camera a lot. I don't think it adds to the show. It's like, oh, it's not going to be a superhero of the week thing. Well, it kind of is. You're just jumping around. You have all these different people jumping in and out of the show. You're destroying characters that have been previously established in the MCU and then changing them, kind of like they've changed Thor to a comedian. Emil Blonsky is changing. They're just doing a lot of things that were rubbing me the wrong way.
Yeah, I guess I just don't know. The show doesn't feel like it's trying to do anything, really.
No, and I mean maybe that's their goal. They're trying to bring more people in as fans, and this would be a good introduction for that because you don't have to know too much about the MCU or the MCU fandom to jump in and enjoy the show if that's what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just not driving anything forward.
Yeah. Now, again, as we said last review, could stick the landing, but it's really been fucking messing around on the balance beam so far.
We'll see. What do you got, Horns?
All right, my third worst thing I watched this year was an A24 movie called Men, which A24, Cycling and I always talk about how they're pretty hit or miss, but when they hit, holy shit, bro. Like, their movies are fucking good. Like, Hereditary and Midsommar. There's a lot of others that, to varying degrees, have been pretty mind-blowing. Men was one a lot of people were talking about. The plot synopsis to it is, just in case you guys hadn't heard of it, a young woman goes on a solo vacation to the English countryside following the death of her ex-husband. And Banner, actually, both of you guys actually have seen a couple of his films. This is written and directed by Alex Garland, who did Devs, Ex Machina, and Banner, I think you've seen Annihilation with Oscar Isaac and Natalie Portman. Yeah, so, I mean, he's got a track record.
Yeah.
But this movie, I'm not even exaggerating. I can explain it to you guys off pod. I don't want to spoil it. The last 10 minutes of it are the weirdest fucking thing I have ever seen in my life. To say it goes off the rails would be the understatement.
You lived with me for a year.
Yeah.
So that's saying a lot.
I watched Banner eat ravioli in his underwear in the kitchen at 3 a.m. with a clothes hanger.
Just improvising.
A real thing.
Resourceful. I don't understand the problem.
Yeah, sorry for being knowing my environment. But Men in the last 10 minutes, it to say it lost me would it's not doing anything justice. It's ridiculous and so fucking weird. I don't know. I wish that I didn't watch it at all because it's kind of mind fucked me and not in a good way. And reading about it online, I don't think anyone knows what the hell happens. So don't watch Men, or do. Maybe that makes some sickos out there want to check it out.
Is it bad? Is it commentary bad?
I don't think so, because I think at the end we would just be speechless. We'd be like, we'd be so goddamn confused.
Yeah, I feel like this would be really tough, especially on a blind watch for somebody.
Yeah, it's just whatever until the last 15 minutes.
Hmm.
You don't really
Interesting.
know what's going on, and then it. I haven't seen Annihilation, but I think visually it takes a lot of cues from that movie. And then in terms of the plot, I mean, it left me behind. So
Yeah, I want to say I might give it a shot, but it looks scary.
see, it's really not like at all.
Oh, okay.
It's just weird.
Might try it out then.
It feels like it's building to something, and then it just I don't know, left me in the dust. I need to ask Cycly. I don't know if he saw it. I don't think he did.
Yeah, I'd love to hear his opinion on it.
Yeah. Let's just say I watched it at my public library, from my public library.
Yeah.
Wasn't available anywhere else.
Checked out the VHS, right?
Yeah. And the one I got wasn't rewound. Really pissed me off.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Be kind.
Rewind. All right, Banner, what's your number 2? Or if you don't have them in a list, what's the next one you want to talk about? Hang on.
The Lost City.
Sorry, you froze. Say that again. Yeah.
The Lost City.
Is this the Channing Tatum?
It's Channing Tatum, Sandra Bullock,
Brad Pitt.
action adventure,
Radcliffe?
comedy. Daniel Radcliffe is the antagonist. Antagonist is bad guy, right? He's the bad
Yeah.
guy.
Anti.
Gotcha. On paper and just like the poster, looks like it's a lot of fun. Basically, you have a romance novelist who never leaves except for to go on a book tour. Channing Tatum is her cover model. He is on the book tour as well. Long story short, we have a kidnapping that they end up in the jungle. Not fun, not funny. Nothing about it was good.
Now the comedy scale, I think, is that I was great on is like how many swings does it take? Like what's its batting average? Because there's some comedy movies that aren't funny. One that I'll actually talk about in Protein Shake, but didn't necessarily take a ton of hacks at the plate. It's always worse when they try like 200 times and hit on like 7 jokes.
What was Mark Reynolds' batting average for his career?
Career probably like 190.
190. Okay, this was probably like 170.
Holy shit!
And it had twice as many strikeouts as Mark Reynolds.
I don't know
Wow.
if that's mathematically possible, but okay.
That's a lot.
It's I would say it hits on 20% of his jokes, realistically.
The problem with movies like that is even if they have a couple like, they get a hold of a few, they just kind of wear you out with the shitty jokes. So by the time you actually hear a good one, you're like, sort of desensitized now.
Yeah, and I think I've said this before. Daniel Radcliffe is a villain all day, every day.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
As I don't know if it's just like the way he looks. He's very short, and he has that like, my parents are rich, down, and I can do whatever I want. It reminds me of how he was in Catch Me If You Can 2.
Now You See Me Too, you mean?
Now You See Me Too. What did
I was about to say,
That's
what?
Catch Me If You Can Too,
Oh
which
yeah.
why didn't they call it Now You Don't? That's what I really want to know, but never mind. It's a different debate.
Very similar to his character in that, which I loved as well. But unfortunately for him, that was the only positive thing. Or fortunately for him, that was the only positive thing in this movie.
I do like Daniel Radcliffe, though. I like the cast, although we have to say Channing Tatum, man, his star has really lost its shine. Poor guy.
And I don't even think he's doing this shit for like good money anymore.
I don't think so either. He seems like a nice dude, but ever since that Gambit project got canned, it has been tough sledding.
Yeah.
So, all right, The Lost City. Poor thing. Nate, what's your number 2?
We're gonna go. This is actually kind of funny. I just literally watched this last week. It was in my protein shake too. But Moonfall. Just watched Moonfall recently.
Honorable mention for me. Yeah.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. I just laughed so much at it. I was like, I kind of had fun.
Like, I knew what I was getting into, but then I think what really disappointed me the most is once the twist comes out and like actually what's happening with everything. Like, I actually like that idea, I like that background. It's kind of topical. I won't spoil it since it just came out this year for people who want to see it. It's kind of topical for what's happening in the movie and what the ultimate outcome is. But the dialogue was just not there at all. It was awful. But it had Patrick Wilson in it, had Halle Berry in it. I can't remember the guy's name, but
Michael Pena.
Yeah, Michael Pena and the guy who plays Samwell Tully in Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, he was actually fine.
Yeah, he was fine.
Yeah.
Actually, his dialogue may have been the best, but they just had like these corny dialogue all over the place. And I understand in a disaster movie like this, you're going to get things that you just kind of have to accept. But when the moon is literally touching Earth and then they get out of it, like I can't get past that. There's just no way you can get you can't go that far past the threshold of my believability and still have me buy into the movie. And there were some far-fetched things in it, and that was kind of one of the things, like the moon is literally touching the Earth. Spoiler, sorry for anyone who hasn't seen it, but
well, it's called Moonfall.
That's not like a metaphor for something. Literally, it is because the moon falls.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the most disappointing thing is I like the premise, I like the background for the spoiler and the twist, but yeah, the dialogue was definitely not there. I don't know who the fuck wrote this, but it was not good.
I think that there are some interesting things. I agree with the twist, and like Roland Emmerich, it doesn't exactly fall into the trope of all of his movies, like the sort of paint by numbers. Here's the scientist explaining the problem, and there's like the reluctant hero on Earth who's like trying to save the human race. I think the second act, it just took like way. Let me put it this way: for seeing Moonfall, there was way too long between the stupid action set pieces in the second act.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
And it wasn't even really doing anything narratively with the characters. Like Patrick Wilson's character, once he's like sort of separated from his family, I guess that's a minor spoiler. It just takes way too long getting to the shit that we want to see.
I don't think there are spoilers when we're talking about the worst things we've watched.
Yes.
We're basically telling
I actually kind of want to meet the person that gets mad we spoiled Moonfall for them.
Yeah, and we didn't even give away like the biggest twist, which are the kind of cool parts about it. But yeah, it was just I couldn't get on board with it.
Apparently, Cycly found because he saw it pretty recently too, and was texting me like, "My mind is blown at how bad this is." But apparently, he did like a little Wikipedia deep dive, and Roland Emmerich, like I don't know how fucking high this guy is, but he was talking like he had that whole franchise planned out for this thing, and I'm like, in what world, bro?
That
not Earth's world, because apparently it's gonna blow up if the moon is touching it.
Well, no, that's what I was saying. That was like the last straw. Like at one point, the moon is actually touching Earth. It scrapes against Earth, but then everything. I mean, that's what it.
I know. Just hearing you say that though, I'm like laughing.
It's great. Yeah, a sentence that's never been said before.
The moon's like, well, we should probably exchange insurance information.
Yeah, and then let's take some pictures. Here's my insurance and all that kind of stuff.
Hurts. Don't do that. No, we're not going to do that.
But it's funny you say that because actually, like maybe the last scene, like they do leave it on kind of
100%
a potential cliffhanger where they're like, oh, the next step. I'm like, that's not what they said, but like we have something coming. I'm like, no, I'm good. Hard pass.
Roland Emmerich with his legs crossed. Like, really, Moonfall is only the first part of a 3-part story. It's like, dude, you're not kidding. No one is coming back. No one came to this one.
No, I'm good. Hard pass. I'm out.
All right, my number 2 is I don't know if this was a Hulu original, but it went to Hulu. Like, I don't know if a studio sold it or what. But this is sort of where we get into my last 2 are movies that really made my list because I had high hopes for them, and they are just fucking turds. And that is the Ben Affleck, Ana de Armas sexual psychological thriller Deep Water that came to Hulu.
I was intrigued by it.
Very much was I. The plot synopsis is a well-to-do husband who allows his wife to have affairs in order to avoid a divorce becomes a prime suspect in the disappearance of her lovers. This one looks kind of interesting really interesting, but it kind of I think it sells itself really short in terms of in the third act, not even the third act, like the last 10 minutes, it almost feels like the way that it wraps up sort of like the thriller aspects of it, or like the main narrative, isn't going to interest audiences enough, and so then they try to throw in like an action set piece that comes out of fucking nowhere and is totally ridiculous, and it really loses me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think whenever this first came out, yeah, I was intrigued, but I think per your review, whenever you first watched it, I still have not visited this one.
Yeah, it's just like there are so many movies that do a very similar type of plot structure better than this. And I'm an Affleck head. Like I defend him a lot. I like him a lot. And what's not to like about Ana de Armas? But dude, this thing's just like a fucking hollow turd that like there's nothing to it. It's just good-looking people on screen in the same scene 4 or 5 times, and then at the end there's like a Rav4 car chase that I'm just like, why are we? What?
Sounds like a
The
porno I
Italian
watched
Job.
recently.
The porno probably had better character development than this.
Yeah.
Send it over to me just in case.
Okay.
But yeah, Deep Water. I had higher hopes. The trailer's really good. Like they released a few clips of it before it came out. I think this, if you would have asked me before the year, like, will this be nominated for some sort of Oscar? I would have been like, yeah, dude, it's definitely got a shot. But not even fucking close.
Disappointing.
Not
Yeah.
even I want my money back from the manager.
Oh,
Karen
maybe that
Award?
one. Maybe that one.
a good
We do
point.
we do need to change to the Karen Award, I think.
It's a good point.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. Also, outside of, and this isn't like to kick it while it's down, but outside of those two actors, there's really no good supporting role in this film. And I don't even mean like a performance-wise. Like they write no one else into this script of consequence. It's just those two basically, with like people in and out, which I think movies need more than just two people we follow for them to work.
Agreed.
All right, Brian, what's your number one? The worst thing you saw this year?
This is a recency thing, I think. It's probably not as bad as I think it is. But I'm going to say Pinocchio, the 2022 live action remake.
I've not heard a
Tom
single
Hanks.
good thing about this movie.
I'm not a big Pinocchio fan in general of the cartoon. I appreciate what it is. I appreciate what it did for animated cinema and the Walt Disney Studios. And that's where they should have left it, as an animated movie that came out in, was it like the 40s or 50s or whatever.
Sure, man.
This is just a giant pile of turd. Tom Hanks, I wouldn't even say he's trying too much, because that's still an understatement. That's how much he's trying in this. He's got this weird accent. Obviously, I mean, the CGI is good, but I just wasn't feeling it. I couldn't even finish it, honestly. And I think this is the looking at the films that he directed, Zemeckis, this might be the only one that I don't at least enjoy a portion of it. I don't like Polar Express, but I like an act or two of that.
Welcome to Marwen is fucking atrocious. That
Is
Steve
it?
Carell, yeah, like super try-hard movie.
Haven't
from that, though.
seen that one, but Flight, that's a great one. Castaway, obviously, the Back to the Futures, Forrest Gump. Like he's got
Yeah.
Framed Roger Rabbit. Like he's got all these in his arsenal, and then all of a sudden you put this big pile of shit out. Like, how much money did Disney give you? Because I'm sure whatever your number was, they doubled it.
Yeah, a lot, I'm assuming.
It just don't. I would not have gone to the theater to see this anyway. Disney Plus shoved it down my throat, and fuck them for doing that. But I still love you.
Yeah, Tom Hanks does like doing weird accents.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And he didn't bother me. This is kind of comparing. Maybe this is part of the reason comparing him to him as Tom Parker and Elvis. He did an accent in that one too, and wore the fat suit and everything. Now, going into seeing both of those movies, I would say he's probably going to be better in Pinocchio, and he wasn't, and that surprised me.
This is kind of a one-off, but I was slightly confused when I started looking at IMDb on this, because I just recently listened to a podcast with Ewan McGregor on it, How do we have two Pinocchios coming out in the
Yeah,
same year?
I was gonna say G Delty, Guillermo del Toro came out or is coming out on Netflix with like a darker version.
I
This is like
believe I
the
believe it's
Jungle
because
Book
it's
fiasco
yeah
years ago.
yeah. I think it's because it's open. Is it open
Open
source?
domain
Open
or
domain.
public
Yeah,
domain. Yeah.
public domain. Yeah, I think that's why it is because we got the Jungle Book and then we got Mowgli on Netflix
Oh yeah.
that
Yeah.
Andy Serkis directed, and it was a darker take on Jungle Book, which was really good actually.
But to quote a movie that I'll mention later, like just they were so concerned with if we can that they didn't think about if we should.
Nice.
I mean, what are we doing? I think, can we agree there are a few IPs, like Robin Hood is included, where it's like in Pinocchio, where it's like, how many times does this shit have to come out and no one fucking cares for studios to realize, bro, the IP's dead. Like, it's dead. It does not work contemporarily. And like Pinocchio, I wasn't even really that interested in it as a kid. Like, I kind of blame
No.
my parents for that becoming popular. Like, it's a fucking boring story. Chucky.
Yeah. I could take it or leave it.
It's never moved me. Now, When You Wish Upon a Star, I mean, it's kind of a banger, but do they sing it in this movie, Banner? I'm sure
They do, and they sing it pretty early. And Cynthia Erivo, I don't know. I'm probably butchering that. She sang it beautifully. That was really really well done actually.
But they blow their load too soon, right?
Yeah, no, literally that's in the first 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't have the runtime right in front of me, but
It's like once
fair.
Billy Joel plays piano, man, like, all right, well, let's fucking beat the traffic out of here.
Yep.
See ya.
Bye. All right, well, I'm not surprised you said that, Brian, but it just, I mean, I was gonna maybe give it a watch because it was so bad, but it sounds like it's not even like fun bad. Like,
it's not worth it. And this is saying a lot. It might be the worst live action Disney I've seen.
Wow, that is a tough list to top. Those movies pretty much all suck.
I don't know if I can't decide if I like this or Mulan better.
You like this or Oh, as like
I don't
worst.
like either one of them, but like,
Yeah.
I don't know which one would be worse.
Damn.
I'm gonna say Pinocchio right now, but that's just because it's
Recency bias.
Yeah.
It's fair.
I got you.
Well, it's actually the opposite of recency bias. Recency sucked.
Mulan's like, yeah, exactly. I'm like a fine wine. I get better with age.
No, Milan, relax.
I just forget how shitty you were.
All right, Nate, what's your number one worst thing you've seen in 2022? Again, year's not over, but like, fuck. What's the thing that's just stuck in your palate here?
Yeah, and this one, I have a sneaking suspicion this might actually be your one too. Do you know if I've seen your number one?
I'm pretty sure you have.
Okay. Then this is the one, and I had big
You want to say it
expectations.
on three?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Windfall.
Windfall.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my god.
God, this one was just it shit down its leg. About
It really did.
probably going into the second act, and then it was shitty throughout that. Because throughout the first act, I'm like gonna give it a shot and be like, okay, where's this going? Cool. And then just nothing develops, nothing makes sense, completely random. I didn't feel like there was any resolve. I don't feel like anything really. Well, stuff does happen, but nothing happened. I
mean,
don't.
this is a movie where, like, obviously the script is, pretty lengthy because it's incredibly dialogue heavy. But I was wondering, like, the story outline for this, is it like a fucking paragraph? Like, my 7th grade students write, like, way more in-depth plots than there's nothing here.
No,
There's no
there really
movie.
isn't. And like they tease like throughout there, like there's gonna be some bigger connection that's gonna be like, oh, that's why all this is happening. I understand it now. No, nothing happens, and then some people die.
The
Not
movie
much of a
has
spoiler,
three first acts, really.
What?
It, like, keeps setting things up, and then they're like, oh shit, kill someone, Tom. And then they do it in the movie.
Like it's one of those that just it try to be too artsy, and like a very good point about that is their cast is 4 people, and I will read you their names.
Great
Nobody, Wife, CEO, and Gardner. Those are their character names.
And the gardener is in what, one scene?
Yeah, he's not much.
So for those who don't know, the cast and plot synopsis, both intriguing as fuck. And that's why I think Nate and I were so let down by this.
I haven't even mentioned that yet. Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, I don't want to bury the lead. This is your
Oh no, go ahead. You're
okay.
fine.
So the cast is Jason Segel in a rare dramatic turn, which to me I was really interested in.
Yeah.
America's sweetheart Lily Collins, and who doesn't love them some Jesse Plemons,
Exactly.
right? And the plot synopsis is: a man breaks into a tech billionaire's empty vacation home, but things go sideways when the arrogant mogul and his wife arrive for a last-minute getaway. So essentially, Jason Segel is this guy who's cased out tech billionaire Jesse Plemons' vacation home. He breaks into, I don't even remember what he's trying to steal. The MacGuffin is kind of unimportant. But when the couple shows up, he undesirably has to take them hostage as a result. And it sort of pits both the couple against each other and then against the person holding them captive. And there's a lot of really meat on the bone, but this thing has no fucking idea what it actually wants to do with this really cool premise.
And like, it's really simple why I don't like it so much. And you will, because you leave this movie and it's the most simple question. Why?
Why? I was just about to say, but why?
Why? But why?
Why?
But yes, you will have a ton of questions throughout the movie, and virtually all of them will be unanswered, and you feel so unsatisfied. It's very disappointing.
What you should do is watch the first act and then just walk away and make up your own ending in your head, because I guarantee you it's better than whatever the fuck they ended up with.
Yeah. Not great. Not great.
I just remember being so disappointed.
Yeah, I was, because like it builds up so much, and like I said, like even maybe halfway through the second act, I'm like, okay, still there could be some resolve. I could figure some things out, and it just like kept me intrigued, and then there was just a big pit of emptiness inside me once it ended.
It just seems like the characters in the third act, even when there's a few revelations, that come out, none of them act at all like how a human being would act, and the plot is dependent on you buying it. Especially one character's actions, like in the last 2 minutes of the movie, and it just it feels so unearned.
100%. Yeah, and like it's in one setting. It's very character driven. It's very dialogue driven.
Which, Brian, I love movies that take place in one night.
Yeah.
We had this here, but again, totally dropped the ball.
Yeah, that's right up your alley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
That's so cute that we had the same one.
Yeah. Aw.
When did Windfall come out? Because I feel like this was early in the year.
I think it was pretty early too. I don't know. I just had it up and I closed it.
IMDb, it just shows the year. It doesn't show the release date, unfortunately, unless it's somewhere that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, it's probably somewhere on the page. I was just looking. I thought it was like up near the top.
So Jason Segel is credited with the story, and I'm like, did he write it on like a napkin at a fucking Olive Garden?
Yeah, that's unfortunate. There's several writers on here, so.
This is a case where it's like, I think we might have talked about this in person. It feels like a Broadway play because it's like not much story, but a lot of script, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the setting, it's like at his whatever vacation house and all that. So it feels like kind of like on a stage. I feel it feels very enclosed. So you still get that, feeling for sure. Release date was March 18th. So yeah.
Pretty early in the year.
Early on.
Yeah, so that just goes to show you this one stuck with us is pissing us off.
Yeah.
And it should be embarrassed that it's worse than Moonfall.
Unfortunately.
Oh,
if you have a movie that's 3 first acts, we've got a big problem.
It is. It's like they kind of introduce a new wrinkle twice in the film that sort of shakes things up, but then they don't follow through on any of it. And then the last 5 minutes, like, fuck, we need to end this, don't we? Let's do something crazy. Hold my beer. And at that point, it's too late.
Yeah. But that rounds it out.
All right. Those are the 3 worst things we've seen this year. Does anyone have any honorable mentions? I don't want to really talk about them, but I'll just name the 2 things that just missed my list. If you guys have anything else you want to add.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'll talk about two real fast again. One, Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. Reason it didn't make it.
I thought you liked that.
It was theater experience. It was
Okay.
the whole everything about it. And I actually legitimately laughed twice. So that is more than I can say about other movies like The Lost City.
So when you said you liked it, I nominated it for the Are You Kidding Me Brosker for the kids movie that we liked this year. Should I remove that?
No. It should definitely still be on there. If you go into it with a kid's mind, like objectively, there are a lot of other kids movies that are better. Ones that came out this year, probably.
Yeah,
Lost
this is
City.
I think
It's a
it's a slow
thin
year.
year for that.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing, Zombies 3 Disney Channel original movie. You guys know I'm a big Zombies franchise fan. And I think this one, as I was trying to put my top 3 together, the reason this one didn't make the list is I don't know that it was necessarily as bad as I think it is in my head. I just think the other two are so much better
Are
that
these musicals?
yes.
And is
Yes.
this by chance Kenny Ortega, or does he just do the Descendants now?
It is not Kenny Ortega, but guys, I'm gonna say it. Zombies 2 is on par with High School Musical.
The first one? Because I
First
still
one.
think the third one is the best.
With the first one, I actually have never seen the third one. If I'm being honest with you.
Third one, like if we're talking banger to song ratio, it's like a 2-to-1 or a 1-to-2, I guess.
Oh, there's probably out of the first two movies, one song that I don't like. All the other ones are bangers.
What?
Swear to God, man.
Damn.
Yeah. Zombies 3 was just a huge ass letdown. I didn't like where they took the story. They just kind of said, oh, we're just going to tie up all these ends with our characters, but not really care. You could tell that they just wanted to pump this out because they announced it before COVID and they still wanted to release it.
How's the dance choreography?
In this one, it's not bad. It's still the worst of the three, but it's not bad. I just don't like the songs. I didn't like the story. I didn't like what they did. I think I had too much hype in my head. We do that way too much on this pod.
Yeah.
So I left it off the list for that reason.
All right, take that, Zombies 3. My 2, I won't talk about them very long. Number 5 on my list, I had Lightyear. I don't really know what I expected, but I remember this was the first time. Dude, I do not fall asleep in movies. You guys know this. I fell asleep in Lightyear.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Like, not for long, for like a few minutes, but I mean, shit. I just couldn't. And what they did with Zurg, who's a guy I was really looking forward to seeing in this context, where he like wasn't actually a toy, but like a serious villain. I mean, snooze fest. Seen it before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. This literally didn't move the needle at all. I watched it and I was like, okay, well, killed an hour and a half. I don't know. I just didn't have any feelings after it.
Yeah. Again, just didn't excite me at all.
I was pretty offended though.
Yeah, I turned gay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 women
100%.
kissed for half of a second. I'm gay now.
Yep.
So that sucks for me and my wife, but it's all right. Number 4, kind of like what Nate did with Moonfall. Sort of felt bad kicking this one while it's down, but no worst of the year list would be complete without someone mentioning Morbius.
Haven't seen it, but obviously had not heard good things at all.
Almost put it on there as I didn't see it, but I saw enough reviews that I didn't need to see it.
I recommend watching it. This one is the so bad it's kind of good.
Ooh, is this a commentary?
I think so. And in case you didn't know, like Tyrese is in it.
I didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's
he moves the
impressive.
needle on this podcast. We have to do a Morbius commentary, dude. That would crush. Pretty bad film though.
This is the one and it got re-released because the internet was making fun of it. And it sold like 80 tickets or something.
Yeah, they took the bait. The hashtag it's Morbin time got it re-released. And then the internet was fucking with Sony after the re-release bombed. They go, I swear we were all just busy that weekend. Please re-release it again.
So funny.
One tweet was hilarious. He goes, no, Sony, we wanted a series. Like, budget finance that. And someone at Sony's like, should we? And there's like a kid who's like 26 and works in their marketing team. He's like, guys, are you fucking kidding me? It's a joke. Stop.
Like some intern.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right. You guys ready to move on to Protein Shake?
Yep.
Do it.
All right, let's do it. Protein Shake is the second part of our show. We go around and talk about what's in our cup, also known as what have we watched lately. I have 6 things, but I'm really only going to talk about 1.5 of them because the other 2 are either commentaries that we did or Halloween-themed movies that I just want to briefly talk about. How about you guys? How many things you have?
I have several, but I'm sure there's some crossover, and I can cut it down as we go.
Brian, you want to go first?
Yeah, I've got 2.5 because I can't remember if I talked about one of them on the last show or not.
Perfect. Why don't you lead us
And
off?
it's a blur. I'll start out with this one. I'm gonna come hot out of the gate. 2001: A Space Odyssey.
You know, I've never seen this movie.
I don't get it.
I've heard
Like,
it's tough to get through.
I get the visual effects and everything like that. Like, I get what it did, and you could really, it's very prevalent very early on. First 15 minutes of it though, there's none of that, and I could barely get through that. It's just a bunch of fucking monkeys and chimpanzees like hitting each other, and it's the birth of man, and it's way too long for that. We don't need all of that. And then after that, we get into the space stuff and the visual effects, and that's cool. After about, and maybe it's just because of my age and what we see now, but like, I don't know. I was over it very quick.
Yeah.
Not, I will say it is not in my top 100.
I get that. And yeah, it kind of sucks because there's some allure that's taken away from it, like being born when we were born, like what we've seen. Like there's just not that fantasy about it. And I honestly, I haven't actually seen the first Avatar, but that's my opinion on Avatar. Like when it came out, I'm sure like, oh man, everything that was coming out about it was groundbreaking and everything. Why'd you make an Avatar 2? Is it?
No, I think it's a good analogy.
Yeah. Is it going to be that great? I don't know. We'll see.
And I think I kind of just missed the Kubrick train in terms of like, I think I was born, 15 years too late. Because A Clockwork Orange, I understand that was like revelatory and some people swear by it. It just kind of missed me. And I haven't seen this movie. I like The Shining, but I just don't know if his films, maybe I'm not smart enough to get them.
That may be it. That like I'm just an average Joe.
Yeah.
I guess.
Nah. I think
I have to be a film.
Weren't that great?
Like I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. I don't get it.
I am shocked to see. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen the film, so I have nothing to base this on except for knowing what I know about Kubrick's other filmography. But this is rated G. It seems like a hard rating for anything to get that's not animated these days.
It came out in like the 60s, though.
Yeah, 68.
They didn't know about ratings back then.
But doesn't it feel like they would be harsher back then? Like if you said darn tootin', they'd be like, whoa, can't say that. Also, you had a black guy in it. That's automatically PG. Like, what?
NC-17.
Interesting. Cycly's a big Kubrick head. He loves A Clockwork Orange. I wonder if he's seen this and how he feels about it.
I would suggest checking it out. Maybe like spot checking it. Like watch 15 minutes here. Let's fast forward for a couple minutes. Watch a little bit more. Fast forward. It's
skip through it.
What?
Yeah, just so you could get like
the feel for it.
Yeah, you can appreciate what it did and how the special effects that we see now are built on that groundwork.
Yeah,
looks like it's on HBO Max.
There may be something to that.
Interesting. All right, good shit.
And I'm sure Uncle Banner is just gonna rip me a new one for saying that, but
yeah, I wish I understood. Again, maybe I just like he changed film. I won't try to deny that at all. But when you watch his stuff, like contemporarily, like right now, it's just it's hard for us to fake that appreciation. Without comparing it to.
Agreed.
All right, Nate, what's in your cup?
Let's see here. What are we gonna go with? Strangers on a Train.
Never seen this, but I'm very, very interested. And I know the plot. Did you watch this because of what was that Netflix movie you guys?
Yeah, and I'll actually tie this into that and just talk about both of those real quick. But yeah, Strangers on a Train. Watched that within the past week or so. Really enjoyed it. I thought there was going to be a bigger twist at the end. There wasn't, but I still like the development and the story and everything. So it was still compelling enough that I did really enjoy it. And I actually watched this first because there was a new movie that came out called Do Revenge, which I think was
Camila Mendes, Maya Hawke, Netflix original.
Netflix, yep, that's what it was. Which there's a connection there. I wouldn't say it's like based on Strangers on a Train. A big plot device is used that is used in Strangers on a Train. But I really like this one too. The first act and getting into it is kind of like high school chick flicky, almost like a
Are you talking of Do Revenge now or Strangers on a
yeah,
Train?
Do Revenge. Yeah,
Okay.
moved into Do Revenge. Um, Almost like a Clueless feel.
Mhm.
But then it really gets into kind of a darker feel as like the plot develops and everything happens. But I really enjoyed both of them. But yeah, Do Revenge, I definitely give that one a shot. And yeah, Strangers on a Train, if you haven't seen that one,
What did you watch
really
it on?
good story.
It looks like to me it's only available for rent somewhere.
I think I actually paid $2.99 for this one, which I usually don't.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
Is
I
it
wonder.
was it worth the $2.99?
I think so. I thought it was really good. Yep.
I do love how Nate really represents like the Turner Classic Movies era on this pod. Like if
Yeah.
if you look at his top 100, I think he's already had at least 2 movies that are over 50 years old, which we need to culture ourselves a little bit here.
There's several.
Yeah, I'll even go a step further and say that you have inspired me where I'm trying to go back and watch some of these classics like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Mhm.
These ones that everything that we know about cinema today was based on these, or this is the foundation for that. So
Yeah, that's one of the cool things going to back and watch these, and you'll see like nods to other movies, and I mean even Do Revenge, like one of the big plot devices is from Stranger on a Train, but there's other like little things you can pick up on that were taken from Stranger on a Train. This isn't much of a spoiler, but the main guy and Stranger on a Train, Guy Haynes, he's a professional tennis player, and in Do Revenge they go to a summer tennis camp at one point. So they have like those little nods and everything. Um, but Stranger on a Train, it's fun watching these older films and like trying to like connect them to like modern day. And Robert Walker, who played Bruno Antony in it, really getting some. He plays a really creepy character, but I feel like if this was made modern day, Kevin Spacey would have played him. If that kind of gives you
Oh.
a feel, yeah.
wow.
I'm just looking at the cast list for Strangers on a Train. Pat Hitchcock, who looks like
Yep.
was that Alfred Hitchcock's daughter?
Yep. Daughter was in
I
it.
did. Is she in? I did not even know he had a daughter who was in his movies. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I haven't seen Psycho, but she's in that one too. But I
Did she
think
have a
she did it.
substantial role in Strangers on a Train?
Yeah, she did.
Oh, wow.
She was one of the main people, main like 5, 6 characters.
This movie was like pretty big in cinema because I think a lot of films have taken pretty large elements of its plot and co-opted them.
hmm Yeah, and like I said, I was looking for maybe like a bigger twist at the end, which there's not. Um, but just the main plot thread that gets set up in the first couple minutes of the movie is enough to drive it. And then the kind of secondary main character, Bruno Antony, he's pretty creepy in it.
Ben Affleck pretty recently was attached to a remake of this movie. Kind of bummed.
I would definitely, yeah, I'd definitely be in on that.
I'd be all over that.
So yeah, that's 2 things that were kind of connected that I watched recently.
Good shit. All right, this one I'm going to mention for 15 seconds. Cycly and I, in anticipation of Halloween Ends dropping on Peacock, by the time this comes out, probably in a week, we went back and did a movie commentary on the 2018 Halloween, directed by David Gordon Green, written by David Gordon Green and Danny McBride. So fun to go back and revisit it. Well, maybe fun's not. Yeah, no, fun is the right word. Fuck it. Banner, I know back in the day, you and Geiger did a review on this movie. We thoroughly loved this going back, and
Loved it.
I think it would be a fun like double bill to just plug our own shit to listen to this 1978 commentary we did on Halloween, and then this one. All I'll tease it with is, do you remember your thoughts when you first saw this movie? Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think everyone on the pod was like just jizzing our pants over this thing.
I remember I loved it. Actually saw this in theaters with Cycly.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, it was. I want to say it might have been like our first couples date out, like where we went out with friends after we had baby Banner, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, nice.
But I remember I absolutely loved this, and this, and then obviously Jurassic World. I think are the 2 best. What are they calling them? Soft reboots.
like
softcore
Legacy
porn.
sequels or whatever.
Yeah, legacy sequels, whatever we're calling it. I think this is one of the better ones out there.
Yep. And also just a cool. We always talk about like when you introduce these movies or bring them back after like 30 plus years, how do you relate it to a modern audience and make them give a shit? And the concept of podcasters that have a true crime podcast being infatuated with Michael Myers, I thought was a really, really interesting path to take as like a jumping off point.
Yeah. He had some good kills too, if I remember correctly.
Oh, the dude had some fucking phenomenal kills. You know what? All right, there's only 2 more things I want to talk about because 2 of these are connected. Did any of you guys watch Hocus Pocus 2?
Never heard of it.
Hocus Pocus 2.
Horns, I watched it with you.
Oh, that's right.
And actually, I'll preface
I was pretty
with
drunk
this.
though.
If anyone, yeah, exactly. We were all pretty drunk. If anyone out there is looking for a good drinking game to play for Hocus Pocus 2, this is simple and effective. Drink anytime they say sister or sisters or book, and that's plenty.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And then Nate Thurman's wife randomly threw in one time when someone said window.
Yeah, I don't even know. Drink. Okay.
We're like, all right, fuck it. So before we talk about Hocus Pocus 2, briefly, I think Nate said him and the wife did this at home. Banner, did you go rewatch the original before you saw it, or do you watch it so frequently that you didn't even need to do it?
Yes.
Well, I'm not the biggest.
I watch it frequently enough. I didn't need to go back, but
That's fair.
you guys know me. Anytime a new movie comes out that's part of a franchise or a series of films, I have to go back and watch all of them. So of course we watched the first one.
Well, our Hocus Pocus movie commentary on the OG is an incredible one. I think we're all on it. I actually think Derek Fisher's on it too.
Yeah.
And that's the commentary where Brian got so high that he forgot he was on the commentary and thought he was listening to it.
It was fantastic.
He's like, this is a great commentary.
This is one of our best commentators.
You're on it though.
Yeah, it's currently happening.
I'm not the biggest Hocus Pocus head, but rewatching the original, I think every time I see it, it gets a little bit better. And I think the thing I like about it is it plays when I was a kid, it just scared the shit out of me so much. Like those witches were going to kidnap me in my sleep. It wasn't an if, it was when. When I watch,
kidnap me.
Yeah. When I watch it now, there's just a lot of humor from the Sanderson sisters that you like. As a kid, it's not even a comedy, really. As an adult, it is, which I appreciate.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I guess, Nate, why don't you go first? What were your thoughts on Hocus Pocus 2, which, as I forgot, we had a I think the environment definitely upped its enjoyability for me that we watched it in.
I know the second you guys finished watching it, I got a text from Jeff that said, I think it's better than the first one. And then Nate goes,
So, okay, and now I don't want to downplay it. I really enjoyed it. I just don't know if I can put it above the first one. Now, like I said, man, I give this a 7.8. I mean, it was a solid sequel. It was great. Really enjoyed it. Random, they didn't say Hocus Pocus in it, which was kind of weird.
Which I thought was a legal requirement.
Yeah. And we also had a shot on that, and they never said it. We took a shot anyway, but
when I sobered up, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, I think. If I would have rated it that night, I probably would have gotten 4, being real.
I like the backstory. We went back to 1693 or whenever it was. And they kind of left it off with maybe having a third, and I'm definitely in. And I'm not even like a big sequel guy. I've said that on here before. But like where they left it off and like how the second one went, and it could have been a lot of nostalgia playing into it. I don't know. But yeah, I really enjoyed what they did with it.
Banner, what'd you think?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a blast. I thought that how they brought the Sanderson sisters back was pretty clever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why it wasn't obvious to me. Like, oh yeah, that makes simple sense. Simple sense, is that a thing?
Simple syrup.
It is now.
What you're trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I liked how they brought us back into the world of Salem and the witches. Like the backstory of them as kids too.
Mm-hmm.
That was great.
Yeah, it was a blast. Absolute blast.
Horns
Also,
just kept saying, "Oh, there's Ted Lasso."
What did you say, Brian?
Did you guys know Bette Midler was born in Hawaii.
Oh, that's fucking cool.
No, that's a fun fact.
I was just thinking if they're gonna do a third one, they might want to get on it because she was getting up there. 76.
Jeez, I didn't really like how like the guy running the shop in their old house, like there would be like if the Sanderson sisters actually came back in the 90s, 28 or 29 years later, whenever, there would be like fanboys of them in Salem. Like even though they like tried to kill people and enslave the human race,
Yeah.
there would be people like selling T-shirts and like go visit the site where it happened, which I thought was kind of cool.
We'd have an Avengers situation.
Avengers, yeah.
Good
Nice.
reference. All right, I only have one more thing I want to talk about. So, Banner, why don't you go? What else you got?
That's all you, because I know I watched something else, but I can't remember what it was because when I typed it in to my sheet, it auto-corrected to something.
It's
and-
that far off.
Can you tell us what it auto-corrected to? This will be a fun game. Can we guess what it is?
Yeah, Bones.
It's Bones.
Oh man, that's
You didn't
so
watch
yeah.
the show Bones?
No, it wasn't the show Bones. It was a movie. I can tell you what I thought of it. The idea is interesting, but there's no aha moment. The twist was more of a, oh, didn't see that coming, but not shocked. Acting was pretty good, but you figure out, or they tell you what is going on pretty early, and then it's just kind of whatever for the last hour of the movie.
Was this a new film? Do you remember?
Nope. 6 out of 5 out of 10. 6.5 out of 10.
6 out of 5.
You do the math. Honestly, Banner, that's better. That's better than any actual review we ever could.
I don't think it's sustainable just because it's so random. I wish we could do this every episode.
It's like a reverse Wordle, where we give you an incorrect word, like it's spelled right and it is a word, but it's not the word. Now you need to replace some of the letters with other.
And it's just Bones. It's only 5 letters. It's not like enough for us to like guess.
It's literally a Wordle.
Oh god, that was great.
Well,
Yeah,
go
I
go check
texted the
out.
wife, and she hasn't texted back, so I'm not sure.
Well,
Not
if
sure
she
we're gonna
do-
get that on this one.
if
Come
she
back
does-
next week, folks.
Oh shit.
What a tease! Nice, Banner. All right, Nate, can you top that?
Probably not. Yeah, I'll just go one more thing here. I mean, I'll do this for the sake of Geiger not being on here. But watching The House of the Dragon, really enjoying it. I think we're all caught up. I think we're like 6 or 7 episodes in. Man, I'm really enjoying it. And like from the first episode, I haven't been on here to talk about it at all. I know Geiger talked about it a couple episodes ago.
And he was loving it too.
Yeah, first episode is great. There's enough like familiarity to it to where you can like really just jump into it. They have a new storyline. Obviously, it's like 175 years before. So there's a lot of disconnection as far as just the characters, but you're jumping into familiar scenes. You're getting to see things that are familiar to you, but far enough taken away from that it feels new. But yeah, so far so good. I'm loving it so far. There was one like, there's been a few time jumps in there already
Yeah, I'd heard that.
in the short season or the short time that we've been a part of it. The bigger time jump, not to give like a spoiler away, but like I was kind of disappointed in that, just because of some of the character change. But other than that, it's shaping up pretty well. Also, stay off the internet for anyone out there who doesn't want to get spoiled, because I accidentally saw a spoiler just because the books are out, the books are written. And long
These
story
are
short,
based
I
on
was looking
books
up.
Also,
Huh?
these are based on books
Yeah.
also. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Lost a
yeah.
lot of respect for the writers.
Well, I think they need to play it close to the chest because once they started going off script in Game of Thrones, it kind of went to shit.
Yeah,
So.
it's fucked up.
But I was looking up the Targaryen family tree, and I saw something I did not want to see. So
Damn it. I have 2 questions as someone who doesn't really know exactly what's happening in Westeros. Well, I guess one is a statement. So Matt Smith, who plays Daemon Targaryen,
yeah,
he is in Morbius. He plays Morbius's like best friend. What is his because like Targaryen, I don't really understand the house, like how big that could be. Like, what is his relation to Daenerys?
Oh, fuck.
Like,
Who
great.
knows it? Who knows at this point? But like 8 generations removed, like great,
Oh,
great, great,
that
great,
far.
Oh
Holy shit.
wow.
like
It's
6 or
it,
7.
it's like
Yeah,
150 years before Game of Thrones starts, right? Something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I just said it, like 170 something.
Oh, you just
Okay, well,
said that.
my other question was going to be, and I think I asked this to Matt last time, but I forgot. Like, what is the lifespan of a Targaryen? Meaning, like, is there any chance that anyone who is alive in this show would have lived relatively close to when Game of Thrones started, or are they just like humans where they live like a normal
Oh
life?
yeah, they're just regular humans. So yeah, there's no one in this series, at least to this point, that you have seen or even like seen in flashbacks because it's so
Hmm.
far back. There's some familiar names, like Aegon is in it, like like first of his name, and then later on like Aegon the second or third or whatever. So the main king right now is Viserys, and Damon, who we just mentioned, and plays by Matt Smith, is his brother. So they're the Targaryens, and they're starting to get into which, if you watch Game of Thrones, you know this. Like the Targaryens want to keep their bloodline pure, and so there's incest there. And now you're getting into a little bit of the incest and like where that began to like keep their bloodline pure. So starting to see a lot of the beginnings of that, but get a lot of dragons, so that's cool.
Oh, that is sweet. Yeah, and
Let me ask you this: Would like Jeff has never seen Game of Thrones? He's
Yeah,
famous for it.
famous.
If he were to decide, hey, I want to get into this world, would he have to start at Game of Thrones, or could he start with this like chronologically and watch this and then watch Game of Thrones? And would it be, how do you think Game of Thrones would be enjoyable wise
Um,
compared to this?
I think you could. And I think it's like anything else that kind of follows this pattern and goes back and does like a prequel series or prequel movie. Like you get a little more enjoyment out of it just because you pick up on little things that you've heard from Game of Thrones or seen from Game of Thrones. Um, but I definitely think you could watch it in that order. Start with House of the Dragon and then go into Game of Thrones. I don't think there's anything that would really be. I think it would almost be impossible to be spoiled for Game of Thrones. But
I just didn't
um,
know if there are terms or things that you know from Game of Thrones that if you hadn't watched that you would know that happened, or like what
Not
that
really. And
means.
there's like little things you can pick up on like very quickly, like the hand of the king. That's like the right hand guy of the king, and like the king's guard. That's like their army of like the city, and like their maesters or their medicine men or wise men. Um, but just like in Game of Thrones, like you didn't know that at the beginning, but you pick up on it very quickly just because of the context. It's the same stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
yeah, that's where I'm kind of torn because I think I might just start with Game of Thrones because obviously it was so revered and critically acclaimed that like watching that first is sort of like just where my interest level would be. But also, like Brian said, like I get recognized on the street all the time as the guy who hasn't seen Game of Thrones yet. So I don't
It's
know if
that fucker.
yeah. Can I get a photo with you? Like I'm out with my
Not
family,
again.
guys. One selfie. So I don't know if I can cave. I
Yeah,
actually
I
did
know.
buy one of the books though that I will check out at some point.
Let me
What's
know
up?
how that goes.
I'm
Yeah.
an audiobook guy, and not gonna lie, it was hard to listen to.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because of the uh, actor that was doing the voices or anything. It was the content. There was some
Hmm.
there was some content that was like, this is not what I want to listen to while I'm running at the gym.
That's fair. I'll give it a poke. We'll see what happens. I'm a bit of a book hound these days. All right. I had one more thing. I'll just put it in a shower beer squad blog, though. If you don't know what that is, check out our squad blog.
I thought that. I'm sorry. I thought you.
No,
were
that's
done.
okay. I don't really have much to say about it anyway. That bird brings us to the last part of our show, which is our Do You Even Lift, Brah segment, where we go around and ask a question that we leave you people with. Today, the question, the continuing one, which is what are each of the bros' top 100 movies of all time? We've been counting these down since, I believe, our, 150th episode? Something like that?
Sounds about right.
And it is linked in the description of this podcast, whether you're on YouTube or wherever you're listening to us, the audio only version. It's right there. It says, check out the Bros Top 100 Movies. Before we get into this list and pick up where we have been counting these down, Nate, why don't you tell the people, what are these Top 100 lists? Because as we say every week, this is not your curated American Film Institute's Top 100 Movies of all time list. There's a bit of a unique...
Better than that.
Yeah, this will be a very... maybe eclectic is the wrong word, but a very varied list, even amongst the bros. And these are our unique top 100 lists, so you're going to get a lot of differentiation in these, and they may mean something different to each one of us just because of the time we watched it. When we watched it growing up, we've watched it a million times. Maybe there's some connection to it that another bro or another person didn't have. So yeah, this isn't going to be your IMDb top 100, top 250 or anything. You're not going to see, like Banner said a second ago, 2001: A Space Odyssey by Stanley Kubrick on here necessarily. You might, and we do throw some of that stuff in there, but each one of these are going to be unique to each bro. So that's kind of the cool thing about it. And we've talked about this. We've talked to people off the pod, friends, and like they've started their own top 100s because it's a fun exercise to do.
It's so fun, and it sounds hard at first, but like as you start putting movies through the wood chipper, seeing how far down they would climb your list, it's I think number one, a trip down memory lane, but two, it makes you sort of like connect with yourself on a level that maybe you hadn't thought about. Like all these movies have a special place in our heart, and I think Banner embodies that more than anybody with the disparity or the diversity in his list.
Yeah,
I mean that as a compliment.
Hey,
agreed.
Look, I call it how I see it.
So where we're picking up, Nate is just a little bit behind the rest of us. His last movie he did was his number 66 film of all time, which was The Lion King. And Brian and I are each currently at our number 63 film. So Nate, if you would be so obliged, why don't you give us your number 65, 64, and 63rd favorite films of all time?
Oh boy, that's a lot of pressure. But coming in at 60, what'd you say, 65?
Yeah, so the last one he did was 66, The Lion King, the 94
Just
version.
making sure my list was lined up here correctly. We're jumping into maybe the first, but not the last. I think it may be the first. Just giving it a quick scroll. Quentin Tarantino film. Making an appearance on our list. I'm not sure if this will be on anyone else's, but I really enjoyed it. It's a bit long, but Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is making my list at 65. Man, I just love.
Bought this book too, written by Quentin Tarantino. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, I love DiCaprio's performance in this. I love kind of the more serious, like a buddy cop is like usually like a fun film, something like that. But like you get kind of a more serious buddy cop feel with him and Pitt in this. Man, DiCaprio just did such a great job, just like with his emotions through the whole film.
Hilarious.
He didn't win an award for this, did he?
I don't.
Which I know this came after Revenant,
Phoenix's
after he
Joker
won.
year, so it was kind of tough for anybody else to win anything.
Yeah. So yeah, luckily he got Revenant when it came out, but like this is up there for me with one of like his best performances. And any Tarantino film I'm just gonna love. And then the ending is great because real life
history. Yeah.
Real life people. Yeah, he does the revisionist history, which is classic for Tarantino.
Yep.
It keeps you on your toes. It's very exciting, like to the end. But then kind of leaves you on a nice feeling because of how it ends.
And a weird, like pretty much the whole last 5 or 10 minutes, it's like classic Tarantino. Like, should I be laughing? Because this is like pretty shocking what I'm seeing, but also it's so shocking that my just gut reflex is to chuckle.
Yeah, this reminds me a lot of the big shoot 'em up scene in Django. Like very violent, but very over the top. You're kind of chuckling and smiling, but then also like,
right? It's like
this is a lot. This is a lot to handle.
That scene in Django, just like an entire house is covered in blood from the.
It may be one of the most like over the top gratuitous scenes in cinema, and yeah, just it keeps like once you think it's gonna stop, it just keeps going. But yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 65 for me.
And just I think a testament to Tarantino's writing of characters, because the way he comes up with Clint Booth, like that guy's just so fucking fun to watch, and DiCaprio is just chewing up every little bit of it.
Yeah, such a head case character. And he got to show so many different emotions in it, and he fucking nailed it. So
Yeah, he really did. All right, what's your 64?
moving on. I'm so excited to say this. 2006, and I can actually say this, and it makes sense. Spike Lee joint, Inside Man.
Oh, great movie.
Denzel, Clive Owen, Jodie Foster. I really love the twist in this one and how it plays out. It's a really great twist, and you have like three very dominant actors in it. And honestly, I probably wouldn't throw Jodie Foster.
She would tell Ejiofor too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like the main people driving this forward, Denzel, Clive Owen, and Jodie Foster. But like they're constantly playing mind games with each other. Everyone thinks they have the upper hand over the other person, and there's only one person that really comes out on top in the end. But there's a little nod to kind of play like the villain kind of giving the protagonist like a little nod at the end.
I forgot Willem Dafoe has a small role in this also.
Yeah, I believe he's one of like the cops or captains of the SWAT team or something.
Banner, have you seen Inside Man?
No, I know of it, but I can't remember actually seeing it.
Yeah, I think you would like it. It's on
Yep.
HBO Max as of now.
Yep.
I got a show we're currently in, but I do need a backup movie.
But yeah, just as a general synopsis, a high-powered bank robbery with lots of deception built in. But yeah, really great the way it plays out. And Denzel is the negotiator who goes in is negotiating with Clive Owen, who basically has the upper hand on anyone, and he's the most sophisticated bank robber, and he knows what he wants. He's going in for a specific thing, and there's a good reason behind it why he wants it.
Mm-hmm.
But he always has the upper hand on Denzel, even though Denzel thinks he's being clever. And then Jodie Foster is kind of a nice play-in kind of third character in that too. Her and Denzel have some nice interactions, but it all plays into the main theme that's driving why Clive Owen is doing this job in the first place.
And I have to say, one of the most interesting like framing devices in the movie, which I don't think I've ever seen anywhere else, and I think Banner would dig this. So as the standoff is happening live, it's intercutting to after the fact all of the interrogations that the police are doing with the people who are held up. And they suspect some of the people inside are actually like involved, even though they're all pretending to be victims of this holdup.
So you're hearing the story through the interviews, but seeing it as it happened.
Right.
Almost?
So like as you hear the stories and then you see what's happening live, you're like, wait, I think that person's lying in their interview with the cops because they just did.
So that could be bullshit, but that's real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So you've got two layers play. The same story is playing out in two different timelines. So it's a fun way that they shot this.
Have either one of you guys seen Vantage Point?
I have. Vantage
Is
Point.
it kind of like that? Obviously, Vantage Point is
Vantage Point is like a trashy Keystone Light version of Inside Man.
okay.
Yeah.
That's more what I was expecting it to be, but a similar style.
Yeah. That's a good. I forgot about Vantage Point. I think we saw that in college together, actually.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Good one, Nate.
Thank you.
All right, what's your number 63? Just for reference, Banner and I at 63. Banner had The Talented Mr. Ripley, and I had the 1997 animated Hercules.
Nice. Good reset. Thank you.
What'd you have?
My 63, and I feel like we talked about this guy more and more recently, and me and Horns are like big, well, I just blanked. Sorry. Big Ben Affleck apologist. We love him.
Yeah.
The 2016 The Accountant.
Haven't seen this one. Does he go too hard with the playing a guy kind of on the spectrum scale here? I'm guessing not because it's in your top 100.
I don't think so. I think it's really well done. And I like this because it kind of reminds me of like a superhero origin story, but he's not a superhero. But he's not like Bruce
It's
Wayne.
a
He's not
regular
super.
guy's origin story.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, um, he has a very particular set of skills.
I mean, this cast slaps.
Yeah. The cast is great in this. I love Anna Kendrick in it. She kind of plays like a little comedic relief to him because he's serious in nature. He's on the spectrum. But they have a lot of funny moments playing off each other, even though it's mainly a serious movie. But it does kind of jump back and forth between real time and like his development as a kid and how he got to who he is and where he is. But it's a fun kind of cover up story because he has a front as a business that he is playing behind the scenes to something else, and him unwrapping kind of the bigger plot thread throughout this whole thing is really interesting too. But
where does J.K. Simmons find the time? He's in fucking everything, and I'm not complaining. It's just impressive.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah, he plays a pretty pivotal role in this. I know it came out 8 years ago, but well, I won't even say that because it's kind of a spoiler for his role in the movie. But he plays a pivotal part in it. John Lithgow is in it, plays a big part as well as kind of the head of a company. But yeah, this one's just one I can watch over and over again. It's really enjoyable. Has a lot of action. Has a lot of personal interactions too. You get a little bit of everything in this one.
John Bernthal plays a character named Brax.
I don't think this. Never mind. I won't say that.
I mean, does it get any? Okay, that's not his name apparently. But does it get any more bro than Brax?
No, it's pretty bro.
Yeah.
No, that's his name. What I was gonna say was a spoiler. I won't say it though.
The director Gavin O'Connor, he's done some pretty good movies, man. He did Pride and Glory, The Way Back with Ben Affleck, and then he also did Warrior with Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy, that MMA movie. Yeah, so that's a pretty good.
Yeah, and this one has a couple good twists. Well, I would say probably 3 or 4 good twists in like the third act that I thought were really well played out.
Nice, and it looks like it's on Hulu right now, so I'm gonna have to fuck around and find out.
Yep, definitely get on that one.
All right, Banner, what is your number 62 to round us out, just beating out The Talented Mr. Ripley, which was your 63rd favorite movie?
I believe this is the first Christmas movie on the top 100.
Wow.
The Santa Claus.
So good.
I mean, it's top 3 Christmas movie ever.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd put that up there for me, but
close.
Well, you're dumb, so
not gonna deny that.
You don't have DDR, Danny, so.
This is Tim Allen at his prime, just killing it. There's enough in this for kids where you still enjoy it as a kid, and then as you get older, it just gets better and better, which I think makes a great movie, and that's what makes it timeless.
Yes.
It spawned 2 of the worst sequel movies I've ever seen in my life, so it also has that notch in its bedpost.
And even in the title, it's funny because this came out in 1994 when I was 6 years old. I probably for the longest time didn't realize the pun in the name of the Santa Claus.
Right. I didn't literally until I just now Googled it and it corrected my spelling. I was like, oh.
Yeah, maybe it may have been College Thurman that really found that humor finally. Oh, like a clause in a contract. I get it.
This was like an OG commentary. I remember Geiger and I did this at like his old apartment, like 2 months after we started the podcast.
Yeah, this was one of the early ones.
They're coming out with a Disney Plus series for it, which clearly no one asked for.
And, well, Tim Allen's coming back for it.
Oh boy.
And I believe his daughter as well is in it.
He has a daughter in this series?
No. Like Tim Allen's actual daughter.
Oh, gotcha.
I think is in it. I think I saw an article about like him talking about how awesome it was to work with her or something. I mean, I didn't read the article. I just like saw the headline, but that's
okay. Still counts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have to give this another rewatch this holiday season for sure.
I'm pumped for the holiday movie season because this is one of those ones that really gets me in the mood.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, this is one that I like to watch early in the season.
Yeah, this is like a December 2nd or 3rd type
Yeah.
watch.
And then we go to Christmas with the Cranks, another Tim Allen movie, another great one.
I'm embarrassed how much I love Christmas with the Cranks.
I've been telling you guys for years, the sooner you start to listen to me, the better off we're all gonna be.
I gave you shit for like a decade for that movie, and then when I watched it, I was like, God damn it, this is really good.
So much fun. John
Yeah.
Grisham book. And
What?
I know how yeah.
God.
Nate, I know you're a Grisham fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I haven't read it, but yeah, I knew that was one of his.
And the
Movie's
book
better
like
than the book.
is like the movie, or did they take like some weird adaptation where it's like they turn it into a family film and the actual?
It. To be honest with you, I don't remember. I remember I got done and I was like, well, I like the movie a lot better, and that was it. I want to say that it was a similar, but it wasn't as like comedic. They obviously churched it up a little bit for
sure. You have to. Nice. All right, I will. I'll do my one tonight real quick. My number 62 film. Part of me is embarrassed it's this low, but also like I respect this movie. I love it to death, but my list is my list, and this movie's incredible, but it didn't change my life the way it changed like Banners. So to even be in the top 100 list, I've seen on my list like over 1,300 movies. It's still a huge compliment to it, and that is Jurassic Park.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm sure this will come up.
That came in at 69 for me.
Giggity.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm sure Banner. You obviously don't tell us where, but I'm sure we won't be hearing from this one for you for quite a while.
It's it's gonna be a while.
But let's just say, as a kid, I don't want to say too much because I'll really let Banner give you all the good
Blow his load on this one.
right once we get to it. But
Obviously,
obviously,
all you want, I'm still gonna blow my load on it.
I think this was the first score that I can remember like leaving as a kid and like humming it in my head. The first time that a score like resonated with me. And I texted you guys this week. The middle school that I teach at, our orchestra was practicing this for their concert, and the kid on the triangle, I mean, dude was getting his fucking money's worth.
You got to, man.
Just put it that way. But again, opened my eyes to what was possible with filmmaking. The first time that I ever saw live action dinosaurs on screen, and it was like done to scale. Like there were some movies I can't remember, these like kids movies where a guy has like mini dinosaurs.
Yeah, they had a lot of like mascot stuff before this.
Yeah, this was like my jaw was on the floor, and I still think one day we'll have to do like our top 10 movie scenes of all time, because the raptors in the kitchen would be in my top 10. I mean, just like that felt fucking real, dude. That was real. I don't care what anyone says. They have hired real raptors and trained them to do that.
Yeah, for like all of us when we were growing up and like when this came out, that was like the first like literally on the edge of your seat, you felt that feeling. Like in this movie, like 5-10 times you felt it.
Yes.
So
the
it was
tension
eye-opening.
when they try and like close the kitchen door on the raptor, and Steven Spielberg is a fucking genius because it's like this little shit that he thinks of. When the raptor like exhales and it fogs up the window,
Yeah.
that's where you're like, dude, this isn't some CGI bullshit. This is a real motherfucker.
That's a real
raptor.
fucking raptor.
Right. And he might kill the kid actors, but I'm here for it. Steven Spielberg will sacrifice them for my entertainment.
Worth it.
This is like movies in its heyday. We were like 6 years old, maybe 5 years old when this came out. We all remember the VHS cover, like a simple black slipcase with the fucking outline of the Tyrannosaurus Rex fossils. Like, this is what movies are all about. And I know that this being number 62 on my list is like, well, how are you going to have 61 to top that? Well, fucking tune into episode 194, bitches. All right, that's all I got. Nate, what is your number 62, just ahead of the accountant to round us out?
Just ahead of the accountant, we have Disney Pixar's Coco. Man.
Banner, just...
What do you mean?
He's the Pixar head. He has to say that.
This is such a lovely movie. How can you not enjoy this?
I don't know. There are a lot of other better Pixar movies.
Well,
Like a
there may be
lot.
some other Pixar movies ahead of this.
I pray to God for your sake that there are. I don't know if we can be friends if there are
Coco
others.
is not his highest Pixar film. There's no
There's
way.
no fucking way.
I may just go hand pick some out and like replace them with some other stuff just so you're wrong. But no,
Not above
the
it.
music in this is great. The detail in this one is really great too. There's a lot of guitar playing. Um, I'm not a great guitar player, but I do like playing guitar.
You're pretty good.
And like the detail and like the fretting and the finger playing and all this, like I know that they've had some like great films come out and like the technology has been great, but like them like getting like the detail on this and like actually like playing chords and like you can recognize like where their fingers are on the fretboard and everything and like the finger picking styles and everything. That was one thing that really stuck out to me and it was great. And yeah, some of the songs in this just stick with you for a long time, which are great. And I like there's like a few little twists and turns at the end, which you don't always get in like Pixar films. But I thought the way that played out and like the turmoil that originally caused the family and the generations of families some heartache played out well at the end, and you get the picture that is pieced together at the end, and you find out what really happened, and the bridge between the afterlife and now, and I don't know, it all just worked for me. Banner, so fuck you.
Well, this was like Pixar was like when Coco came out, they kind of got into that sweet spot of like family versus like legacy and like what happens after you die. Like Onward, really family oriented. Obviously, Soul kind of deals with what happens when you pass away, and then Encanto kind of deals with both. It's sort of like an amalgamation. So the Coco was like a nice jumping off point for that, and the family stuff for me really works. And also like I think a good like Dios de los Muertos, like a huge Hispanic holiday that just shows how Pixar can. It's a 4-quadrant studio, right? Like it can apply to people of all races and ethnicities, and this was like a nice way for them to pay tribute to that. I thought. I'm sorry, Banner, I cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say it is a good movie. I just had to give you shit because
Understandable.
there are a lot of other good ones, but this one got some good bangers, really good bangers. Love the colors.
Remember me.
Yeah. The colors are fantastic, and then again, just like the idea of kind of how your family gets your tradition, how they get their traditions, and like why do we do what we do? Well, because great grandmommy Cynthia did this back in 1712, so we do it.
And was screwed over by a musician-loving father, allegedly.
Allegedly.
And then we had to ban music. Too many bangers.
No more music. But yeah, and then at the base of it, it's a young kid, a trope or a plot that's been played out many times. A young kid telling something he can't do, and then ultimately getting to do what he loves. So I mean, if you feel good at the end. But yeah, there was a lot visually. There was a lot with the plot, a lot of family feels on this one. So I really love Coco.
And it's like there are so many OG Pixar films that just go so hard in the paint that a lot of times like it's tough to view the newer ones and be like, oh, these are great Pixar movies.
Yeah.
Because Banner's right. When you compare them, like it's an impossible list to crack. Like you're not going to beat the Toy Stories and the Monsters Inc. and
and Toy Story and all that. Those are kind of like our 2001 Space Odysseys for us because those came out. It was very technology driven. They're doing groundbreaking stuff. I think you can hear my dog squeaking her toy in the background.
She loves Toy Story.
She does.
Yes, and she's like not in this room at all. It's very loud. But
work hard, play hard.
Weird comparison, but yeah, those movies are like our 2001 Space Odysseys.
Dude, when Toy Story came out with the technology, I remember still thinking like, how the fuck is this possible? Because all we knew was like 8-bit Super Nintendo graphics, basically. All right, Nate has to go play with his dog because she's ready to fucking rock. Before we let the people go for episode 193, any last thoughts, Brian? What say you?
Pull over for emergency vehicles, please. Recently had a emergency and had to get somewhere, so I appreciate everybody that pulled over.
Probably pod listeners, because they were thinking once they saw the sirens, they were like, "Oh shit, Boehner always actually asked me nice." He's asked nice, you know. It's the least we can
guys,
do.
and if you don't, I know, I'm watching you.
Yeah, and he'll give you like when you pass, he's like, "You might as well just unsubscribe because we don't fucking want your sympathy."
But still listen, because I like your money.
Yeah, look, we said it. It was we all said things we didn't mean. Nate, how about you? What's the American hero's words of wisdom?
Hold on. Okay, I was on mute for a minute.
You're back.
I think we're back here. Stay hydrated out there. That's very important. It's overlooked. Drink a lot of water. We all get into that lull where we're not drinking enough water, and it's very easily overlooked. But it sounds stupid, but like when you're very hydrated, you feel a lot better. It's something simple. Just drink.
And don't go to like straight Gatorade. You gotta cut that shit at least in half.
Absolutely. Good news. The favorite liquid IV of my wife and I, since we're 9,000 years old, is releasing a sugar-free version next week.
What?
That's one of the things with.
Are they really?
Liquid IV does have a lot of sugar in it.
It does.
It does.
So I'm excited to hear that. Very excited.
It's a game changer.
Wow.
For sure.
What do you got,
guys
Horns?
have the subscription to it?
I'm
Liquid
not
IV.
like a monthly one. They just know.
Yeah,
when
like
to
they
send
send us however much once a month.
That's fucking awesome. All I'll leave people with, I had a bad experience at the barber this past week. Did not like my haircut. Tried a new barber shop. Won't be fucking going back. Probably a reason it was completely empty at 11 a.m. on a Sunday. When you go to the barber shop, guys, just make smart decisions. Again, it's not a permanent life decision, but I'm stuck with this shit for at least 2 weeks. And I teach 7th graders, and they have not been coy about telling me that my hair looks bad.
They will rip you.
Yeah, I've been roasted.
Savage.
A fucking marshmallow. The worst part is I can't even get mad at them because I'm like, you're not wrong. Touche. All right, for the mad scientist Brian Banner, the American hero Nate Thurmond, I am the mayor, Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Please follow us on Twitter at Bro Force Squad. If you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words, you'll find us pretty much anywhere on the internet. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, and then, of course, our website, broforcesquad.com, where we post all of our content. Till next time, we'll see you out there. If you don't pull over for emergency vehicles while we're on our way to pick up our sugar-free liquid IV, you will not have a good time.
And you won't have a good haircut.
Wow, see, it's one connected universe.
Yeah.